Imagine a city in the middle of the Sahara Desert that once rivaled the great centers of learning in the ancient world. A place where books were more valuable than gold and where scholars debated philosophy, law, astronomy, and medicine. That city was Timbuktu, in present-day Mali, home to one of Africa's greatest intellectual treasures. Hundreds of thousands of ancient manuscripts, written centuries ago and preserved against all odds. Timbuktu rose to prominence around the 13th century during the golden age of the Mali Empire. Its position on the trans-Saharan trade routes made it a crossroads for merchants, travelers, and scholars from across Africa, the Middle East, and even Europe. Caravans brought salt from the desert, gold from the south, and, most importantly, knowledge from every corner of the Islamic world. In the heart of this desert city, learning flourished. Great centers of study grew around the mosques of Sankore, Djingueber, and Sidi Yahya. These weren't just places of worship. They were universities, attracting students and teachers from as far away as Cairo and Fez. Over the centuries, the scholars of Timbuktu produced, copied, and collected an enormous body of work. Today, historians estimate there are between 400,000 and 700,000 manuscripts in and around Timbuktu. Most were handwritten on delicate paper or parchment, bound in leather and stored in wooden chests. They covered nearly every subject imaginable: theology, astronomy, mathematics, medicine, poetry, law, geography, and history. Some texts even discuss subjects like women's rights, trade ethics, and scientific experiments. Many were written in Arabic, but others used local African languages written in Arabic script, showing a blending of cultures and ideas unique to West Africa. These manuscripts were never held in one single grand library. Instead, they were spread across dozens of family libraries and private collections, passed down through generations. Families in Timbuktu became guardians of knowledge, carefully preserving texts that dated back as far as the 13th century. But with time, the manuscripts faced enormous challenges. The desert climate, insects, and humidity slowly wore down the fragile paper. Political instability, war, and colonization all took their toll. Yet the families of Timbuktu held on to their treasures, sometimes burying them underground or hiding them inside walls to keep them safe. Then came the crisis of 2012. When Islamist militants occupied Timbuktu, the manuscripts were in grave danger. The militants began destroying historical monuments and even set fire to parts of the Ahmed Baba Institute, one of Timbuktu's main libraries. Thousands of manuscripts were lost, but most were saved through an incredible rescue effort. A man named Abdelkader Haidara, a librarian from Timbuktu, led a secret mission to smuggle the manuscripts out of the city. With the help of brave volunteers, he packed hundreds of thousands of manuscripts into metal trunks, rice sacks, and wooden boxes. They were transported by boats, cars, and even donkey carts under the noses of militants. By the time Timbuktu was liberated, more than 200,000 manuscripts had been secretly moved to safety in Mali's capital, Bamako. It was one of the most remarkable cultural rescue missions in modern history. But saving them from destruction was only the first step. Once in Bamako, the manuscripts faced a new threat: the humid climate. Unlike the dry air of Timbuktu, the southern region of Mali is more tropical, making the manuscripts vulnerable to mold and decay. To protect them, organizations from around the world joined in. The Ahmed Baba Institute, UNESCO, and the Hill Museum and Manuscript Library worked with local custodians to clean, catalog, and digitize the texts. By recent counts, more than 200,000 manuscripts have been photographed and preserved in digital form. Digitization not only protects them from loss, but also opens them to scholars and students around the world. In August 2025, a decade after the crisis, the government of Mali began returning thousands of manuscripts from Bamako back to Timbuktu. It was a symbolic moment. a return of identity and heritage to the city that had once been a beacon of knowledge in Africa. But the work isn't over. Ongoing conflict and poverty still threaten the preservation of these treasures. Protecting them requires international cooperation, funding, and continued vigilance. The story of Timbuktu's manuscripts is more than a tale of ancient books. It's a story about the power of knowledge, the resilience of culture, and the courage of those who protect history. For centuries, the world ignored Africa's written heritage, believing that the continent's knowledge was only oral. But these manuscripts prove otherwise. They reveal an Africa that was literate, intellectual, and deeply connected to global scholarship long before European colonization. They show us a civilization that valued ideas, debate, and education as much as gold or empire. Each manuscript, whether a treatise on astronomy or a poem of love and faith, is a window into a vibrant world of African scholarship. And each family that risked everything to save these texts reminds us that the fight to preserve culture is never over. Today, as technology helps bring Timbuktu's manuscripts to digital life, their message remains timeless. Knowledge is a treasure that belongs to all humanity. It must be protected, not buried, not forgotten, and never destroyed. The sands of the Sahara once hid Africa's greatest library. Now its pages are turning again, whispering across centuries, reminding us that wisdom can survive even the harshest desert.